Okay, so this is me, and this is our topic for the day. I want to dive straight into this issue about people say women are not winning government contracts. And we've gone into the numbers and we think it's very easy to blame the government, but what is the part that's within our control? And these are the uncomfortable facts that we're seeing. Um, in DSBS and SAM, there's really very incomplete profiles. Many women companies lead with the WOSB certification instead of leading with their concrete capabilities and competencies. Too many women are just too modest. There's an expression about how women underrepresent their capabilities and men overrepresent them. That would be a great happy hour topic. But they are too modest, and so they're not given credit. They're frequently outside of traditional key networks, either by design, we know what it's like to not be invited to a discussion, or just simply geographically. You might be in Alaska and the decisions are being made in DC. And then the biggest one, and we see this a lot, is that they often have unclear niche. So when people come to see what it is that you do, they can't quite get a clear understanding. So I should be, oh, here we go. Okay, just really quickly about my background. I've been working with the GovCon Chamber for the last several years and part of the team that founded GovCon in a Box. And my real angle is helping people frame their message and position themselves in the larger scheme. I have a background in finance and nonprofit management, film, arts. It's very eclectic, probably similar to most people on our call today. But most people just call me Neil's sister. If you know my brother, he's the president of the GovCon Chamber, and together for the last 6 years, we've done 600 of his trainings. He is all GovCon, I am all marketing. So don't ask me anything about the FAR. I want to dive into what we call the integrated marketing assets, and then we can see how LinkedIn fits into this. You know these, but you may not think about how they all tie together. So obviously, DSBS, where you start your business development description, you go to your capabilities statement. Hopefully, the same things that you're saying there are what you put on DSBS. And then you go down to your LinkedIn personal page and you're describing who you are and what you can do. Remember, LinkedIn is a professional platform. So you're describing who you are and who you can help. And hopefully tying again those anchor keywords, because we want a continuity of message across all of these assets. Then into the LinkedIn company page, similar thing. And then finally, the company website. And I will just tell you, one of the big things I see a lot is either there is not a consistent UEI across all these assets, or the company name is different across the assets, or the company ownership is different. So when that happens, it creates friction, and we know where that goes. Several of you have taken advantage of the services at GovCon in a Box, and I just want to remind you, you can go to GovCon in a Box and get your free visibility score. We take all the data that's available on DSBS, SAM, FPDS, USA Spending, and pull it into one report. And what you will typically discover is certain things that are just missing, but also in the case of DSBS, you might have gotten contracts, forgot to put them on DSBS, and it looks like you have no experience. And in fact, you're quite competent. So the key problems, and I'm just going to go through these quick, and we have been researching these a lot. If you know my brother Neil, he loves statistics. So he has deep dived into these significantly, and they're kind of shocking. So we go to DSBS and SAM, and we frequently find, there's no link to your capability statement or no ownership. These things all cause friction. Anchor keywords is something we talk a lot about for all these elements. Anchor keywords are those words that you have to be found for. Sometimes people go into DSBS and write something kind of flowery. Say you're in IT and you talk about transformation and, all those important things, but the buyers are going to filter on technical terms. So those anchor keywords, you want to use them so that you're searchable across all those platforms. Again, capability statements, they talk all about being women owned, but really that's an after effect. What buyers and teammates want is your capability, your competence, your experience. And of course, when I visit websites, I look, and this is one of those things I see more on women's sites. There's no page about the leadership, the team, the founders, nothing that says, look, there's a powerhouse group here demonstrating competence and faces. People trust people more than generic brands. And so if you have your face on the website and it matches the face on your LinkedIn, there we have that continuity. And people say, oh, I get it. This is another side of her. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. Also on websites, I'm always surprised that there's no UEI. And then the problem of the week, a lot of people, when they set up their DSBS and SAM profiles, stayed at the SBA for their link for the capability statement. The problem is when the SBA site goes down, you have no control over the access to your information. So it's always better to have that hosted on your website and use your website link onto those public profiles. I know I'm doing a big dump here, but I hope you're seeing. I'm trying to point out a pattern. So then the only part of those assets I want to focus on now are the LinkedIn ecosystem. And I want to talk about how they all cross over. We often focus that we're looking for the buyers that are on LinkedIn, but the truth is people are everybody is there, right? 230 million. They're people we can learn from, people who may want to come work with us, people we may want to sell our companies to, competitors, competimates. It's a big, huge swimming pool. LinkedIn has evolved from when it started. Back, if you came on early, it was a glorified resume and it was focused for recruiters and employees and employers. It has hugely evolved and is taking a huge step now with the advancement of AI. So now we need to think of LinkedIn as a search engine because everything you write there will turn up in Google results. It's a business card, it's your elevator pitch, it's your landing page. Think of it. If they come to your profile in the featured section, you have your capability statement, some recent project, basically the same quality stuff you had on your website, you would have it on LinkedIn. It's one-stop shopping, everything, everywhere, as we say. And the really important thing to remember on LinkedIn, people are consuming your information even if you don't see them. The posts and content live on, your comments live on, but the biggest people making decisions are not interacting. They're not giving you a thumbs up. They're not giving you any validation. So some of the posting and the exercise is a leap of faith, but the statistics show that the consistency gets results. So I'm stealing something from my brother in this sort of Z format, which you guys are probably tired of hearing, just remembering how people read. So when they come to your personal profile, and I'm not going to go into huge depth because I think you can learn this in a million places. I just want to flag a few things. They look at your banner. Any of these items, if they're missing, cause friction. Your banner. If you can't design one, put a placeholder. It calms the visual mind. You want a photo. Ideally, professionally. If you cannot, something as a placeholder until you get one. No photo versus a bad photo is worse. Then to your name, it should be easy and clear. I worked with a gentleman recently who had kind of a big barreled name, and I had been talking to him for weeks, and then he finally said to me, my name is, I'm not going to give his name, but say his name was John Patrick something. And I was calling him John. He was really, my name is Patrick. I'm like, get rid of the John. You're making me look like an idiot. So also with your name, if you have too many certifications, just pick the one or two that are critical. But if they go off the visual line, then people have already forgotten what your name is. It distracts. Same to your tagline, and we're going to talk more about this there. The tagline is not a place to talk about your title. It's a talk about what you do for other people and why they should talk to you. So you hear all the time, I do this for this ICP to get these kind of results. And one thing I encourage people to do is just go into some event, because your tagline shows on every post, and skim down as you're scrolling and look at what people do, like what they write, and look at it in the context of your own. Are you inclined to find out more? Do they stop you? The more you look at what people are doing, the more you figure out where you want to be. Company name is really important. Again, this is really important. I'm going to pause on this. In DSBS and SAM, maybe the company name has changed, blah, blah, blah. You want the company name to be the name you're actually doing business under. And then if you have a DBA somewhere else, you can just reference that, right? So this is how people come. One thing I've noticed recently for women, not men, I don't know why this is, but they're gating more of their access. If you're on LinkedIn, the only purpose is to connect with people. So you need to have all of your visibility restrictions off. Anybody should be able to see your photo and say, oh, I met Chris at the Vets 25 conference. Yes, she's the right person. Or I want to see the last name. Now, one problem I had yesterday trying to contact somebody for this event, we're second connections, not first. She has her setting that if you don't know her email, you can't contact her. You can't become a connection. And if you're not connected, you can't message them. And in my opinion, if you've turned those things off, then there's no real networking value to being on LinkedIn. When people visit, maybe they see these things, your featured section, where you'd want your cap statement, your experience, where you also want your cap statement, your about section, your newsletter. We talk about these a lot. I'm not going to go into them, except to say, when you write them, that's when they have the most value, because all of these features are SEO searchable. And if you're putting in your anchor keywords, they might include contract titles, things like that. When people are Googling or Binging or whatever you want to call it, LinkedIn results are starting to appear in those off the platform elsewhere. So even though when people visit your profile, they may never look at these things, it serves a greater purpose. And so I would encourage you to spend some time on that. And we know now, of course, it's getting harder and harder. People consume 90-second segments is the most they'll be on your profile as they're scrolling through. So you're looking for things that catch. I'll let you read that. Well, one of the things that really struck me is 80% of LinkedIn content is consumed on mobile. Increase in video is not just because it's a great way to convey your story and your personality and just to be more interactive, but also 71% of the B2B decision makers are either millennials or Gen Z. They only know video. So we need to know our audience and make sure that we're making the information accessible. All the stuff we do on LinkedIn is brand reinforcement. It's to give them little bits, little crumbs, get people interested, get to trust you, and then it'll go off platform. But this is where LinkedIn has become so much more dynamic, and it's not a resume. I wanted to flag a couple people who I think did a brilliant job. Probably a lot of you know Inez Calderon, who does office furniture and moving company. This video is not going to work, but she did a brilliant video this week where she just had these young women coming from the building out to the truck, and they are her team. They're young, they're organized, they're professional. This was her post. That was very effective. And then the other one, again, she's telling her story. It's a visual, so you don't have to say, oh, what does she do? Oh, you can imagine. But what was amazing here is she has excellent anchor keywords in her narrative there. She talks about the agencies. So these are all searchable. Again, back to things being SEO searchable. Another one I loved this week, and again, I don't know the video, but Mei Li with Evolution Motion, she did this 1 minute video that was part of a 20-minute video where she explained how the vehicles worked in a very presentation simple format, but it was really intriguing. And for her, this worked because she was demonstrating her competency in action, and it wasn't just a face-on-face video. And then her narrative is super SEO keyword rich. So if you were, I asked earlier, and I'll have to look at that survey, what's the number one reason that you're not posting? I would invite you to take a step back and think about the exponential value. So we advise people, if you can, to try to create 3 posts a week. Now, they can be any kind of posts, and we'll talk about it. Educational, they can be video, it could be an event, but 3. And you could schedule them. You could write them on the weekend and schedule them. If you did that every week in 1 month, you would have had 12 posts. And if you did it every week between now and Christmas, you would have posted 72 times. Now, if I asked you today, could you do 72 posts? Of course, you couldn't. You're busy. But this is how we make the continuous, consistent impact. Again, comments, and we're going to spend some time on that in a minute. Comments are really important, both for you, because that means you're attracting the right people who are interested in what you're doing, and for you to be out in the ecosystem, finding other people who you want to get to know, who you can contribute to their conversations. If you did 30 comments a week, which is 6 a day or 5 a day, say, that's 120 comments in the month, 720 by Christmas. There's no way you would do 720 if I asked you, but this is how that adds up. And then the third category, the whole point of this really is to be finding new contacts. One of the things that we risk is staying inside our echo chambers. And I know this happens in the GovCon community a lot because we start to feel very comfortable. We see the same people at events. We see the same people, whether those are in-person events or Neil's training or, an agency training. We start to get familiar. And when that happens, we slip into that positive reinforcement instead of staying on the, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to go meet strangers. But that's really where we need to be to increase our networks. So if you just did 10 new contacts a week, that's 40 a month, 240 by Christmas. That's substantial. One thing that's really important is that we shouldn't overthink the numbers. When we see some LinkedIn influencers say with huge followings, it's 2 things. One is those followings, they could be anybody, and you're trying to look for a more targeted audience. And also it's the quality of the comments and the quality of the engagement that LinkedIn is looking for, not the huge numbers. And people who have huge numbers, don't forget that there has been an explosion of AI bots going and doing just, stupid questions, stupid comments. Great idea. Thanks for posting. Good luck. I mean, I don't mean to be dismissive, but those are not comments that start conversations. Okay. Am I going too fast? And Neil and I, we talk a lot. So the next section we're going to go into, and I know this is really overwhelming, and I know a lot of people feel that they don't know where to start, or they're kind of behind because you're trying to get your business and it's summer, and where do you start? So one thing I would recommend is on my website, LinkedIn for govcon.com, I have a free quiz, and I would invite you to go there. There's 11 easy questions, and it talks to you about your engagement, the impact, how LinkedIn is working for you. And at the end, you get a report with some recommendations about where you're at, where you can go to get to the next level. And I've been running it for the last month, and a couple hundred people have done it, and I'm getting really positive feedback. So if you think that might be a way to start getting focused, I would encourage you to do that. Again, it's totally free. And then also to tell you that, my day job, I really am a marketing consultant. So if you're in a position where you just feel like, oh, I need to stop talking about it. I need to get my profiles in gear. I need to lock down a content calendar. I need to look at all my marketing assets. As we talked about, I need to make sure that wherever I show up, I look like the same person. I offer what I call a 1-day VIP service. It really ends up being 2 days because we look a deep dive at where you're at, and then we help you reposition. Like, is your niche clearly defined? Are your keywords serving you? How do you stand up looking against your competitor? So if you're looking to do something fast, and especially since it's summer, maybe you just want to get it done, please talk to me. Otherwise, go to LinkedIn for govcon.com/VIP. I would love to help you. This is the kind of thing I love to do. So reach out to me. And also, just if you have any questions, there's also a link where you can just schedule a quick review. So going back to the overall, of all the things that we've talked about, posts, optimized profiles, company pages, headings, links, banners, videos, followers, connections, likes, featured comments, LinkedIn Live, what do you think is the most important engagement for 2025? Can you drop that? Just write what you think and put it in the chat. I will wait. Okay. What do you think it is? A lot of people talk about all of these things. A lot of times we're afraid of the wrong things. Okay. The most important thing, according to all the research that's come out on LinkedIn in the last 6 months, and what is really moving the needle. Wrong button. Comments. Comments.
Oh.
Is that a surprise? Comments. The reason is
Unknown caller.
The reason comments is so important is that is the living, breathing place, right? That's the really, that's where you show up and you become your real person. So when you comment, either on your own post or someone else's or in an event, most important is that everyone sees your tagline. And if they see it enough times, pretty soon they're going to say, oh, that's, this Jay the water guy, or that's, hopefully Cecilia the LinkedIn winner, or there's Neil the GovCon person, or there's, whoever the person is, you start to reinforce that image. And reinforced messaging breeds familiarity, which breeds trust. And, I'm happy I didn't write know, like, and trust, but we all know that's the fundamentals of business. So when they see your tagline and your comment is interesting and adding value, you create curiosity. And then people think, that looks like a real person and they have interesting things to say. And also your subject matter expertise. After all, the reason we're on the platform is to demonstrate our subject matter expertise and find people who we complement in can grow together, right? We talk about we're looking for buyers, but it's just as important to be looking for potential teaming partners. We talk about competitors and competimates. So comments create conversations. Conversations provoke people to go to your profile. And we talked earlier in the week, there's a feature in LinkedIn where you can see who has visited your profile. It might just be premium, but that feature alone is worth it. And then you could reach out and say, hey, I saw you come by my profile. This is what I do. Is there something you're looking for? Or are you just stopping by? It's a conversation starter. I've made incredible connections just through that one little thing. Then, if that conversation on a post seems interesting and you should take it out of the group discussion, then you move it to direct messages. So that'll be the first time you're actually having a continuing conversation. Direct messages are not a way to sell to people, but they're a very good way to have short, private conversations. And ideally, those messages then turn into introductory calls. Just 15, 20 minutes on a Zoom call to say, hey, my face, my competency, nice to meet you. Should we keep talking? So comments lead to introductory calls. And so when we realize our whole goal is to start talking to people, then once we've done the other stuff, the most important thing is the commenting. So going back on what we've achieved as I've rushed through this, our goal on LinkedIn is to comment 5 to 10 times daily. We want to post 3 times weekly. You want to respond to every comment. And we want to start conversations and collaborations. Well, sorry about that. But the one thing we talk about a lot on LinkedIn is you don't want to post and ghost. If you're posting something that's quality, you want people to comment and then you want to get back right away. So it feels like you're having a conversation in real time. That is the goal. So if you're going to post something good, you should plan to spend half an hour around that post just interacting and commenting. Because when you do, LinkedIn's algorithm sees that you're a real person and starts to push your visibility and your content further. Collaborations, I want it as a separate line. Collaborations is this brilliant new way of using your competency and reaching into someone else's network. And I can talk about this at the end of it, but basically, if you have 2 complementary services, then you could write posts that cross into each other's networks. So there, and this is something women are especially good at because women are, I hate to be stereotypical, but there's sometimes reasons for stereotypes. More often to look for opportunities of mutual benefit. Then going back to the anchor keywords, and if you're interested and you forget what this is all about, I have a great post around the visibility score where we talk about your tier 1 keywords are the ones you have to be found for. Second and third tier are supplemental and adjacent words. And these are the words that buyers filter with and that other companies filter with. These are your core identity words. And then, on the third one here, emphasizing, of course, our capabilities, our competencies and experiences. That's what we should be talking about. Being a woman is just a bonus. Or if you're in the competition and they say, well, this little bit would get you ahead, and like, oh, I can pull out that card. But nobody gets a contract because they're a woman. Of course, you can't change DSBS, as I embarrassed myself yesterday about, but when you can, make sure that's fully updated. And then likewise for your websites, the owner names, bios, case studies, make sure your UEI and the value proposition is all there. Oh my God. So I would like to use the rest of the time. If you have questions, if we want to brainstorm, we can do anything you want with this. I can do live reviews. That's something I do a lot where we look and say, okay, this is missing, or you could take it from this angle. A couple of things I really want to say about our personal profiles. We really have to make sure that they're ungated. We really need photos. Get anybody to take a photo with your iPhone if you need to. It's just in the beginning, MVP, right? As I said, better to have a face, smile, relax, be something people want to talk to. The taglines, a lot of people struggle over these. And I'm a big believer in finding a friend and letting them read your profile and letting them read your tagline. And if they don't know what you're doing, okay, that's a clue. If it doesn't roll off their tongue, that's a clue. If you have too many credentials before you talk about what you're doing, that's a clue. Um, if you're not clear what your niche is, and this is especially important for IT companies, because IT and finance is such a big um, catch term, right? And so you don't want to have other people guess what you do, because more often than not, they'll say, oh, she probably doesn't do that. And then you'll miss those opportunities. So you want to put, this goes back to what we learned. You put the big rocks in first, and then you put the small rocks, right? Everything we learned in basic business development and learning development. Um, uh, I do want, um, I get really excited. I mean, you guys can tell how excited I get. But what I get excited is because what I see, even though people are they're frustrated, they're very nervous that, maybe we're going to lose the socioeconomic category, maybe 8A is going to go away, maybe women's going to go away. But at the end of the day, we're not going to go away. So there's a mindset shift and there's still possibility. And so while we're in this sort of prolonged no man's land, literally no man's land, uh, we need to be using that time wisely. Because the time to start really going forward and competing is not when they've made their mind up. The time is now to get the marketing assets in place and going and having conversations and just being, all things everywhere so that you stay top of mind. Because um, we all know this. If you haven't talked to someone in a while, they kind of forget what you do. Or maybe you've pivoted and you just need to remind them. And so I talked about collaboration. One thing I'm really excited about, again, I'm going to dial it back, dial it back. But one thing, LinkedIn really wants LinkedIn Lives on the algorithm. And the algorithm is something I track on very closely. So what's happening, which things get rewarded, how can we do things differently? LinkedIn is always looking for ways of continuing engagement, dwell time, these things. So one of the things I'd love to see, I would love to see women businesses teaming up and doing LinkedIn Lives. Instead of you feeling you have to go it alone, which is a lot of pressure to put an event on your own, and especially if you're not an extrovert, that's a lot of pressure. But I'll just give you 3 examples of people who have met in our GovCon community. And I didn't ask them, so I can't use the names, but I'll give you an example. In the healthcare, I have one person who does healthcare instruction and another one who does hospital facilities. They're actually not only going to team up, but they're going to do some roundtables on LinkedIn where they can bring in other people that are interested in the same issue. And what that does, besides the obvious visibility, but that strengthens the perception. We talk about perceived value and subject matter expertise. When you're in a live event, you get to demonstrate that and you get to drive the conversation into those particular areas. Another one is a family-owned electrician and an interior designer who does building designs. So those are natural complementary things. And they met in the networking events. And then Lisa, what is Lisa's last name? We did a visibility score for Lisa, and she's so darn competent. She's so certified and everything, but she's a woman in construction, kind of traditionally a man's field. She was very modest. She's like, oh, I've got these little things. I'm like, you don't have that. You're licensed, you're this, you're that. And we redid all of her keywords and we stood up correctly. And then she called me a week later. She's like, I actually, because, the buying officers are searching on keywords in DSBS. She's like, I got 3 calls in a week. Nobody's ever called me before. Nothing buzzes me more than to get a call like that. That's the goal, right? That's what we're trying to do. And in my dream world, I would love to see women business owners in a niche, in a niche, maybe a bigger one, maybe just like, let's say, IT or healthcare or something. You could be hosting your own networking events, We don't have to wait until some professional organization gets it together and does it. We have technology. We have Zoom, we have Teams, we have all sorts of great things. You could do it for a 15-minute monthly roundup, or you could do it for a full day conference, or there's so many possibilities. And it really just is a matter of saying, okay, I'm going to think outside the box. I'm going to try to meet new people and and see where it goes. But absolutely, we have to be moving forward because staying still is not an option. We'll get hit by a car. We have to be thinking. Um, Somebody had asked me earlier about newsletters because that's another thing that had been coming up. Um, there are there are different opinions on newsletters. Um, the predominant one now is newsletters, which also come up as articles on LinkedIn. They are SEO searchable, so that's a great way for you to demonstrate your subject matter expertise or talk about a case study. Um, you know, pump it full of keywords, in little and make it visually good, put some infographics. But um, newsletters are two-dimensional. They won't get you contracts or relationships, but what they do is they create a body of knowledge that says, look at my depth of expertise. You've got links going back to your website. You the trick about newsletters is they're hard to maintain. So if you don't have somebody in-house, because I mean, we have lots of different people on the call, and some of you are just sole proprietors, and some of you are from larger firms. If you don't have somebody in-house, it's very hard to maintain it all the time. So I wouldn't put the priority there. But if you could do a newsletter once a month and it was value added and it was written to the needs of the people who need your services, that's another important thing. It's very tempting on LinkedIn to say, I'm going to write about all things for all people. And then you're nothing for nobody, right? When you write or when you post, you should always say, who needs this information? Um, okay, I have not been a video person, but I'm moving myself out. And I thought yesterday was a good example. I got all these DMs from people saying, bad timing on your post, cease, DSBS is down. And I thought, okay, I have no makeup. I'm in my t-shirt. I'm jumping on a thing that says, hey, by the way, it's down. Don't panic. This is the workaround. Uh, it'll be gone, but the person who needed that message will have gotten it. And that's the reason to get out in front. Like, don't overthink. Um, I was thinking about this. Think of how much time and money you spend going to a conference, and you want to have clothes that you didn't wear the last time, or you want your makeup right, or maybe you did your hair again. You spend so much time and mental space and money doing this, where really we could be maximizing the value of this platform. So I'm going to pause there because very much like my brother, we're two of 10 kids. We're 10 over 13 years, so we like to talk. I would invite you, if you have questions, I would invite you to ask if you have something you want to share that others can learn from. Let's use this time.
Miss Cecilia, I do have a question. I have been trying to get to the 100 score, but it seems like I'm running out of NAICS codes for my business, and I can't get the 10 NAICS codes. I'm a consulting firm that does leadership and management development and training.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I don't have any more NAICS codes to put on there. So I'm at 83 and I'm trying to get further and then maxing out. I think it's maxing out the second description. For some reason, that's why I'm getting stuck and I'm trying to get to the 100.
Okay. So first, let me give you a direct answer because that might benefit everyone. And then after, feel free to reach me directly and we'll get you to the 100. Okay. So
thank you.
One thing at GovCon in a box, there's a NAICS generator. I don't know if you've used that tool. I think it's just backslash NAICS, but if not, fish around. There's a link. Sorry, I should be more specific. But anyway, what you do is it'll pull your current NAICS from your DSBS profile and you answer some questions about what you do. And it's AI and it'll just keep prompting you. What about this? What about that? So play around with that. That's one thing. My favorite is reverse engineering. I would go into I would go into GovCon in a box because that's where I do all my research. But it's free. Use it. Use it. I mean, that's why we created it. I would go in there and um, I would search my competitors. I mean, come on, ladies. At the end of the game, that's what this is, right? It's competition. I would go all the time and search my competitors. What are they doing? What are they saying? If you can't do what they do, don't say it. But a lot of times we simply need to reposition or we're not thinking or whatever. I'm not saying steal their marketing materials, but we're talking makes and keywords and all that's really good. I would also then go into FBDS and I would look at awards that you think, oh, I could have won that. I have that competency. And then just reverse engineer. What were the keywords? What were the NAICS? Is there anything here that will help me elevate my visibility? Because invisible companies don't win contracts. If you've seen my tagline. Yeah, so do that. And then if you hit a wall, just reach out to me, DM me, and I'd love to help you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. I'm glad you're here today.